I think there are community spaces where people kind of have unspoken agreements about what you don't talk about. I was told that if people in this town didn't want to provide me with a service, that I should just go to the next town over.
Democrats are focused on the social issues in a community that is very tightly knit and very accepting of every citizen that they have in Holly Springs. I think it's a way of pumping up an issue that is not really high on the voters' priority list right now.
What I love about canvassing is not everybody has my views, and that's okay. It's more about getting information out to voters. We're just checking in to see if you plan to vote on this election cycle.
I do.
Not everybody loves to answer the door, which is perfectly okay. I'm actually one of those people, so I totally get it.
Wake County is 1 week away from their municipal elections. The local races won't draw the same turnout as the March primaries and the general election a year from now. But these seats are important races to the future of the town and the mood of the state.
Here, the unaffiliated vote absolutely matters. But if nobody's getting up to talk about it or to cast their opinion, then it might not happen. And I would love for everybody to come out. I don't care who you vote for.
Wake has more registered voters than any county in the state. And here, unaffiliated voters outnumber Republicans and Democrats.
Because the voter turnout is so low, it means your voice is even more important. The general election absolutely gets way more attention. And so this is kind of the groundwork for making sure folks are prepared for next year.
In 2020, Biden won Wake County by 26 points, but lost North Carolina to Donald Trump by 1.3%, his smallest margin of defeat in any state. Both parties know every voice will matter in 2024.
We know that if we can organize the suburbs and get information out, that our suburban voters will come out and vote. Suburbs are going to play a huge role.
What we're hoping to do is send a message that with these municipal elections to show the trend that Wake County is moving toward for the 2024 election.
Love this town. It's very conservative. That's why we love it. We want to keep it that way.
We don't want to see it change in terms of what they represent. I'm good with it, and I want to keep it that way.
We support the Democratic ticket, but we do look at what the candidates' records are. We vote for good people that hopefully will serve our needs as well as others.
There were a lot of things that came into play with deciding to run for town council. And the parts that are super hard are the folks who are adamantly against me running. And some of those folks want to make me a one-issue candidate. They want to claim that the only reason I'm running is to represent the LGBTQ community. You know, when I first moved to North Carolina, we were called the progressive education state. And literally from the year I moved here on forward, they have taken away more and more funding from our public schools. And more often than not, I was discovering a lot of the things that were standing in the way of my kids having the best possible education were barriers within the political system.
Education is an emergency, not only in the county, but across the state. The difference is the two parties' ways of looking at education and what performs well, what does well, what pushes out a great performing student that is ready to meet the world. What we support is parental rights. It's something that the Democrat Party has really pushed against.
For Republicans, the passage of a parental Bill of Rights protects a parent's role in their child's education. But the bill also limits the instruction of gender identity and sexuality in K-4 classrooms, and mandates schools notify parents before a child can change their names or pronouns, which some LGBTQ advocates say will force educators to out students.
To be an out trans educator right now is terrifying. I was a well-decorated, well-recognized educator for 19 years, but after having come out, suddenly my expertise was questioned more. I was treated with less respect. There was an email that went out that implied that if Democrats or myself were elected, that there would be pedophilia in town. If people are stoking that online hatred, they may not plan on acting on it, but someone else might. It's scary.
We want to make sure that we elect officials that aren't looking to push a personal agenda, but are actually looking to push the agenda that Holly Springs residents are concerned with.
The issues that are important to Wake County are the same issues that are important to districts across the state.
I don't really see that it's unique here. The legislature in every state has so much power, whether you're talking about budget or policy, that school districts have to respond to. We've been fortunate in Wake County that the board meetings have not erupted in complete chaos, but we have had some very aggressive speakers at our podium.
You also have the ethical duty to obey local, state, and federal laws in protecting children from sexually explicit content, obscenity, and vulgarity.
Our state funding is, there's not been any big investments.
In September, lawmakers expanded the state's school choice program to include all families, regardless of income. Funding for the program will increase to over $520 million by the 2032-2033 school year.
We've been doing the same thing for decades now, and it hasn't changed except in areas where we have involved the families or given people the choice of where they want to go. I know that the Democrats hate the idea of school choice, but we have found success in every demographic across the board. So the rights that we're focused on right now are the parental rights because they have been neglected for so many years.
Jack Turnwald came in fourth in the November election, but only lost the seat by a few hundred votes. While the seat is nonpartisan, meaning the seat doesn't have an R or a D next to the name, Wake County Democratic and Republican parties both endorsed candidates.
If I keep running away from people being discriminatory or non-inclusive, eventually there's going to be nowhere to run. And I would rather work to make my community one that is inviting rather than try and seek that out somewhere else and hope that someday I'm going to find safety.
Gosh, there's so much work to be done. And just making sure that people are in the process without becoming overwhelmed and apathetic and feeling like their voice doesn't matter.